Motorsports coverage presents Speed World. Today, live from Darlington, South Carolina, the Gatorade 200 Busch Grand National Race being brought to you by Pontiac Grand Prix, the 1988 Motor Trend Car of the Year. By Quaker State Motor Oil, the big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. And by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. In South Carolina, it's a hot and humid afternoon. It's cloudy, and there was some rain here earlier today. The forecast calling for a 30% chance this afternoon. It could be a factor in the outcome of this event. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Darlington. Busch Grand National Racing today, the Southern 500 Winston Cup event tomorrow. But certainly this Grand National division does not live in the shadows of Winston Cup. Going into this 24th race of the year, the top 5 in Grand National points are separated, as you can see, by only 150, with Tommy Ellis at the top of the list. However, the last 6 Grand National races here at Darlington have been won by Winston Cup drivers. What about that, Ned?
Well, certainly their experience pays off when they come to a super speedway. Last week at Bristol, a Busch Grand National driver sat on the pole, Tommy Ellis. He could do no better than 15th here. 17 of the top qualifiers here for the Gatorade 200 have Winston Cup experience. Only Mike Swain, Rob Moroso, and Ed Barrier do not have any Winston Cup experience. And they too, Bob, could play a role in the outcome of the point standings at the end of the year. If you have a Grand National driver that's fighting for the points, finishing the top 5 here today, and then you have 4 or 5 Winston Cup drivers before you get to another Grand National driver, that's a lot of points in the separation there, so it could play a big part in the outcome of the point standings.
One of the Winston Cup guys in the field this afternoon had a bad crash at Bristol just last weekend. For that story, let's go to the pit area. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, thank you very much, Bob Jenkins. We are indeed standing with Rusty Wallace, who just climbed in the car to get ready for today's race. And Rusty, after a scary moment last weekend, and this guy was nearby when they were trying to get you out of the race car, Rusty, how do you feel today?
I really feel 100%. My neck doesn't hurt. I feel like I'm right back after it. Just kind of took the doctor's orders and spent a lot of time in bed, just feeling good, and my neck doesn't hurt anymore right now, and I feel that after this 200-milers over today, if I feel good after that, I know I'm 100%. I feel 100% right now, but the race will tell the story.
Well, 200 miles today, 500 miles tomorrow in the Southern 500, and your good buddy Dale Earnhardt, who we all call Ironhead, has given you a nickname. After hitting your head last week and bouncing back, Earnhardt came over and signed the helmet Rubberhead. That's Rusty Wallace's new nickname, courtesy of Dale Earnhardt, Rubberhead. Let's go to Dick Berggren. Dick?
Well, Jerry, once again, tires are the story. Here at Darlington, however, nobody's really concerned about tires blistering. What they're worried about is the tires wearing out prematurely. Some competitors say they're only going to get 30 or 40 laps out of a set of tires. Others say they can go 50 or 60 laps. Everybody is pretty much in agreement, however, that the tires are going to wear out before the competitors need fuel. If they come in to change tires under a caution flag in this division, rules allow them to change only 2 tires. That will put a special premium on those teams that are very fast at making pit stops. Bob?
All right, thank you, Dick. And of the 39 starters that are lined up on pit road ready to go, only 2 will begin this race on Hoosier tires, Mark Martin and Ronald Cooper. The others will begin on the Goodyear Eagle tires. The track description here at Darlington, well, it's a 1.366-mile oval. The banks are 22 degrees. It was resurfaced in 1987. The length of our event this afternoon, 147 laps, 200 miles, and they should be able to get between 70 and 75 laps out of a tank of fuel. However, they should be coming in for a change of tires before they come in for fuel. Now let's go down to the start line and that command to start engines.
Drivers, start your engines. And the field of 39.
The field is set to go for 147 laps and the Gatorade 200, the first of 2 big races here at Darlington International Raceway this weekend. Tomorrow, the Southern 500 Winston Cup race live at 1 o'clock. Stand by now. We'll be back to give you the starting lineup, the 39 that will go today in the Gatorade 200 right after this. Welcome back to Darlington International Raceway. The cars begin to move away from pit road. They move onto the racetrack for a couple of warm-up laps before getting the green and for 147 laps of competition. Here's the starting lineup for today's race. On the pole for the third time this year in Grand National competition, Jeff Bodine in number 15 Levi Garrett Chevy. Outside of that front row will be to the number 7 Skoal Buick, driven by Harry Gant, the defending champion of this race. In the second row, it'll be Dale Jarrett in the number 32 Portaloo Oldsmobile and Rusty Wallace in the Kodiak Pontiac car number 66. The third row, Brad Teague in car number 75, the Food Country USA Oldsmobile, and Dale Earnhardt in the GM Goodrich Chevrolet car number 8. Going to row number 4, it's Morgan Shepherd in the Winner's Circle Auto Parts Buick car number 97, and L.D. Ottinger in the Detroit Gasket Buick car number 2. Mike Alexander will start in 9th position in the 84 GM Tech Buick, and Bobby Hillen Jr. from Midland, Texas, the Brendless Rain-X Buick car number 81. Then going to row number 6, it is Larry Pearson in car number 21, the Chattanooga Shoe, and Michael Waltrip starting for brother Darrell, number 17. The 7th row, Jimmy Hensley in number 5, and Davey Allison in 28. The 8th row, Tommy Ellis, last week's pole sitter at Bristol, and Mike Swaim alongside him in row number 8. As you take a look at the rest of the starting lineup for today's event, we mentioned the experience that starts in this lineup today with all the Winston Cup guys, but there are some, Ned, making their very first start in this kind of competition.
Actually, there are 4 drivers who are making their first start in Busch Grand National competition. Frank Fleming of Mount Airy, North Carolina. Now, Frank is a seasoned modified driver and has a lot of wins under his belt in that division. Preston Brown from Jacksonville, North Carolina. He has some super speedway experience in the Charlotte Daytona Dash Series. And Ben Hess of Wadsworth, Ohio, he has some ARCA experience on super speedways. And Jimmy Edwards Jr. of Fayetteville, North Carolina, is perhaps the winningest driver of that foursome. He has 198 wins and 15 years of dirt track experience, but we all know there's quite a bit of difference in driving on the dirt tracks and driving on a track like Darlington.
Jeff Bodine up front. As we said, this was his 3rd pole of the year in Grand National competition. He won this race earlier the year in March. Harry Gant won this race last year, and he, of course, starts alongside Jeff Bodine in that front row. So a lot of experience on the front of the field. Dale Jarrett, Rusty Wallace are in row number 2, and then we get back to Mike Alexander driving car number 84. He is in 2nd position in the point standings going in, and he had the points lead in Grand National competition for a major part of the early season.
And then he's got the call to drive for Bobby Allison after Bobby was injured in the Winston Cup Series, and it really put a strain on him, Bob. For a while, he was flying back and forth, qualifying a Winston Cup car on a Friday or Saturday, flying to a Busch Grand National race somewhere on Saturday night, and was really taxing his Busch Grand National program. But he's bounced back now, had a good 2nd place finish last week, and he feels that he's back in the running of the Busch Grand National Championship.
And the number 21 car that you saw just a moment ago being driven by Larry Pearson, who won last weekend's race at Bristol, Tennessee in the Pontiac 200 that we televised live for you last Friday night. And alongside him will be the number 17 car, normally driven by Darrell Waltrip, but it's being chauffeured today by Michael Waltrip. The pace car is in turn number 3 as it will begin to accelerate now and dive down off the 22 degrees of banking, and the field is now under the control of pole sitter Jeff Bodine. This has always been one of the most exciting Grand National races we televise all year. We should see lots of lead changes and a lot of back and forth competition. Let's see how things go today. They look over the field. It's a slow start, and there's the green flag. We're underway with the Gatorade 200. We're glad you can join us on this Saturday afternoon. Sit back and relax for Grand National Racing.
Jeff Bodine got himself a good jump on the start there, Bob. He's about 3 or 4 car lengths ahead of Harry Gant as they go up the backstretch.
Bodine stretching out the lead a little bit on Harry Gant, who runs in 2nd position. That is Dale Jarrett running in 3rd spot. And in 4th right now is Rusty Wallace as they come off of corner number 4 to complete lap number 1.
We understand that Pat Louise in car number 37 might get the black flag because she pulled out of line before she got to the start-finish line at the start of the race.
Well, we did see one car move to the inside of the racetrack before crossing the line, and that apparently was enough for the NASCAR officials to give the violation to Patty Louise. Well, watch and see if she comes into the pit area and receives a black flag. There you see the top 4, and the number 21 car of Larry Pearson is moving up through traffic. A car ahead of is the yellow number 5, driven by Jimmy Hensley. Here they come off the 4th corner once again, completing lap number 2. It is still Jeff Bodine leading, but it's a good race as several positions are being changed in the back of the field.
Well, Harry Gant has moved right up on the back bumper of Jeff Bodine, now putting the pressure on him. Jeff got a good jump on the start, but it didn't take Gant long to close the gap.
That's Gant in the green and white car number 7, and Jeff Bodine in the yellow and white number 15. Dale Jarrett is in the red and white car, and then Rusty Wallace behind Jarrett. Brad Teague is running in that 5th position. A lot of intestinal fortitude by Rusty Wallace coming here and choosing to run this Grand National race with all of the problems that he had during the Winston Cup race last week. That is the terrific strain on his neck, but he apparently has rested over the week and is ready to go here this afternoon.
We see Rusty running in the 4th position now, running along in very good shape, although the 3 have moved out some 7 or 8 car lengths in front of him.
The number 75 car being challenged now by Dale Earnhardt in the black and white number 8 car as they move into corner number 1. That is the battle for 5th spot. It's Dale Earnhardt looking to the inside of Brad Teague as they come out of corner number 2 and go down the backstretch. Brad Teague in the blue and red number 75 car has that 5th position nailed down at the moment, and Earnhardt now drops back just a little bit as they go into the 3rd turn.
Bob, the car that Jeff Bodine is leading with here now is not the car he won with here in the spring. This is a Chevrolet Monte Carlo. He was still in one of the old model body cars in a Pontiac when he won here in the spring. And this is the car that he ran at Charlotte in May. The car was wrecked in that race, but he did set on the pole and was one of the front runners.
The number 52 car of Ken Schrader was off the pace when he came around last time, and he is way off the pace now. He has the car still on the racetrack, but is on the inside of the front straightaway as he comes down. We understand that the ignition may be gone in that car, so Ken Schrader's afternoon is going to end prematurely as he goes very, very slowly down the front stretch and into corner number 1.
Well, he's one of 7 or 8 Winston Cup drivers who own their own Busch Grand National car. He and his wife, Annie Schrader, own that car together. Looks like they're going to have a tough day here.
And there you can see the leaders beginning to lap some of the slower traffic already as Harry Gant makes a bid for the lead. Into turn number 1, he has the inside line, and that's the place to be, so he grabs the lead now from Jeff Bodine. But here comes Jeff right back to the inside in corner number 4. Let's see who leads this lap. They come off the 4th turn. It's going to be Harry Gant leading this lap, with Bodine now to 2nd place. Dale Jarrett still right in there in the thick of things in 3rd spot.
Well, Gant took advantage of that left traffic and his came off a 2, got him a good running start up the backstretch and moved around Bodine.
So the 7th lap out of 147, lapped by Harry Gant. We'll be back with more live Busch Grand National racing from Darlington, South Carolina in a moment. Bob Jenkins along with Ned Jarrett, Jerry Punch, and Dick Berggren at Darlington International Raceway in South Carolina for the Gatorade 200 Busch Grand National race. We are 10 laps into this 147-lap event, and the lead is held by Harry Gant in the green and white car number 7. There is the battle for 2nd position. Jeff Bodine in the number 15 car has 2nd spot, but right on his back bumper is the number 32 Portaloo machine driven by Dale Jarrett.
And those cars have pulled away from 4th place runner Rusty Wallace. Rusty's some 1 and 2/10 seconds behind the 2nd and 3rd place drivers. Bob, this is a combination point race for the Busch Grand National North Series as well as the regular Busch Series point champions. Dale Shaw is the leader of the Busch Grand National North Series. He unfortunately has already had to make a pit stop in his Budweiser car, but he's back out in the running now.
The Ford V6 being driven this afternoon by Mark Martin. There he is, and he's being shown in 16th position at this moment. The only V8 that started this race was in the Ford driven by Joe Thurman. That's the number 24 car, but all others are V6s. And there's another guy that will be doing double duty this weekend, as Mark Martin will also compete in the Winston Cup Southern 500 tomorrow afternoon. Back up front, it is still Harry Gant leading Jeff Bodine and Dale Jarrett. Fourth place, Rusty Wallace, then Brad Teague. Bobby Gillen Jr. is sixth. Morgan Shepherd is seventh. Mike Alexander is eighth. And then the number 17 car driven by Michael Waltrip.
You can see the leaders about to come up on some heavy traffic. The black flag being given to, looked like Dale Shaw's car, the car number 60, the fellow we were talking about just a moment ago. He has already been in the pits one time.
Dale Earnhardt is running in sixth position and still doing battle with Brad Teague. They have been, they touch coming out of corner number 2 as Dale's gets a little bit sideways and bumped the Brad Teague car, number 75. And look at this. There's Morgan Shepherd that's going to try to make it 3 wide. There certainly is not room for 3 cars going into turn 3.
There's really not room for 2 cars going into that turn, let alone 3. But Morgan gave him a little anxious moment there. Of course, Earnhardt ran up on the car they were lapping there and had to drop back. But Earnhardt went into that first turn determined to take away that 5th position from Brad Teague. But Brad hung on.
5th, 6th, and 7th right here. And the number 84 car, driven by Mike Alexander, is running in 8 spots. So some good, tight competition here. But Dale Earnhardt in the number 8 car is really knocking on the door of Brad Teague as they go into turn number 3 once again. The racing crew very narrow. Dale pulls in again, and
boy, he is an intimidator. He don't mind sticking that bumper up there and just touching you just a little bit and keeping that pressure on.
And the yellow and white car that has joined this group is the 81 machine driven by Bobby Gillen Jr. So some real tight competition here.
Mark Martin has gone into the pits, we understand, on the backstretch. We were on him a moment ago. One of the V6 Fords running. Kyle Petty is also running the V6 Ford in this field this afternoon. Earnhardt keeps the pressure on Brad Teague. Now this perhaps, Bob, is Brad Teague's best super speedway. He has always run well on this speedway. He likes it. He drives the track real well. Runs here better than anywhere else. But boy, look at the traffic they're in.
Oh, look at Earnhardt. He's way down on the apron of the racetrack and trying to pass several cars. May have touched one of the slower back markers as they went into turn number 1. He can't gain much of an advantage, but now has about a half a car length lead on Brad Teague. But let's watch Teague to the outside of the racetrack. He is certainly, as you indicated, and not being intimidated by Dale Earnhardt as these guys are slugging it out. And now there goes Dale Earnhardt sliding to the inside up the banking, but he has the position.
He just drove it in there harder going into turn 3 and took the position.
Now let's watch Morgan Shepherd in the black and white car number 97 as now he is behind Brad Teague.
Brad Teague's last win on the Busch Grand National Circuit came at Martinsville in March of 1987. Let's take a look at Earnhardt's move on the front straightaway. As they came up on the heavy traffic, Brad Teague had committed himself to the outside. As he came off in turn 4, Dale Earnhardt decided he would go on the inside, made it 3 abreast, 4 abreast as they came down the front straightaway. The one car moving all the way to the inside, giving him plenty of room to run. There's Morgan Shepherd dipping out behind Earnhardt going into the turn. And as Earnhardt comes back into the lap car, he touches him just a little bit. He cut back in too quick, but he still was up beside of Teague going into the turn, then made the pass going into turn 3.
Some good heads-up driving there by the car that went to the very inside of the racetrack. Obviously, he knew what was going on behind him and got well out of their way. Now we go back up front. There's the separation between first and second as Harry Gant and Jeff Bodine are still pretty close out there. A little bit of an interval now back to third position, and that is Dale Jarrett. Let's go to Dick Berggren, who's been watching the progress of Harry Gant.
Bob, how would you like to buy a brand new car and have everything work perfectly right out of the showroom floor? That's exactly what we're watching today with Harry Gant. This is a brand new race car. It replaces one that we saw destroyed on ESPN in May at Dover. How much practice did they have before they brought the car here? 0. You're watching the practice right now as Harry Gant leads this race.
Well, he's practicing very well, no question about that, as he now has the lead, and the interval is about 6, 8, maybe even 9, 10 car lengths between himself and Jeff Bodine, as 20 laps out of 147 are complete here.
Now, Dale Jarrett has dropped back a little bit, Bob. We know that he qualified on used tires. Gant and Bodine both qualified on brand new tires. Dale couldn't get new tires mounted up in time to qualify, so the tires that he has are the ones that he practiced on. He already had about 15 or 20 laps on those tires before he qualified, so he might be getting close to the number of laps of wear that those tires have on it. I'm sure that's beginning to concern Dale.
Back in 10th position is the number 17 car, driven by Michael Waltrip. And indeed, Darrell did qualify this car during the qualifying earlier this week weekend, but Michael Waltrip has taken over driving chores, and you can see he has his hands full with the number 2 car driven by L.D. Ottinger, and right there also is the Haviland car driven by Davey Allison in car number 28. Whole string of cars right ahead of Michael Waltrip. There you can see Bobby Hillen Jr. And right ahead of him, Mike Alexander, then Dale Earnhardt, and then Brad Teague.
Earnhardt has been able to move away a little bit from Brad Teague after he made the pass, but Brad Teague has Morgan Shepherd behind him now. Of course, you can see that 3-car battle there between Michael Waltrip, L.D. Ottinger, and Davey Allison. Davey Allison running a Buick, that car number 28. He started out this season in a Ford in the Busch Grand National Series, and then switched over to the Buick because the Ford V6 engine program was not quite as far along as he felt it needed to be, so he switched to the Buick.
Side by side and nose to tail racing out there as we're watching 6 through 11. Davey Allison on the high side of the number 60 car driven by Dale Shaw. The 07 car, the purple one right behind Davey Allison, was driven by Tommy Sigmund from Hickory, North Carolina. It is still Harry Gant leading this race as he begins to close in on some of the slower traffic. And the top 10 as we have them at the moment. Harry Gant in the lead, followed by Jeff Bodine. Dale Jarrett is still in 3rd position, followed by Rusty Wallace. Dale Earnhardt. We'll be back in just a moment. Back at Darlington, that's Harry Gant in the Skull Bandit Chevrolet car number 7 leading the race. He has just lapped the number 42 car driven by Elton Sawyer. That means there are 23 cars now on the lead lap with 27 laps completed. Harry Gant begins to stretch it out just a little bit. There's the yellow and white car 15. That is in 2nd position. However, you can see that there are several cars between 1st and 2nd position, and the number 88 car driven by Bobby Labonte takes Jeff Bodine high on the racetrack in turn number 2, and now Jeff Bodine will pull alongside the number 11 car driven by Jack Ingram, who was the last regular Busch Grand National driver to win here. That was in April of 1985. And look at this battle between L.D. Ottinger in car number 2 and Davey Allison in 28. This is the battle for 11th, and the number 17 car there driven by Michael Waltrip. He runs 10th at the moment.
They've really been going at it for about 10 laps, Bob, but Davey has not been able to move around L.D. Ottinger. He got up beside him a time or two, but just couldn't move around him.
Allison driving car number 28, the Haviland Buick.
Ottinger, of course, a former champion of this division before it became the Busch Grand National Series. In fact, he won the championship twice back in the 70s.
This is only Davey Allison's 7th Busch Grand National race of the year. And now you can see that last week's winner, Larry Pearson, is being lapped by Harry Gant, and so Harry laps the 16th place car. And obviously things are not going well for Larry Pearson, who led all but 30 laps last week at Bristol. Jerry Punch, what might be the problem with Larry Pearson?
We had heard they may have a brake problem on the car, but Larry says that's not the problem at all. You know, normally drivers complain about rain. Larry Pearson and a number of drivers are complaining about the sun. The cars were set up to run in cloudy, overcast conditions for a cool day. It is now not a cool day. It is getting hotter by the minute. The track is heating up, and a lot of drivers, Larry Pearson, Jeff Bodine, 3 or 4 others, their cars are not set up correctly. They're awfully loose, and they can't drive them. They're going to have to hang on till they get a caution flag and come in and make a chassis adjustment. That's the problem with Larry Pearson and some of the other top runners.
Jerry, we have noticed that up here, that many of the cars are not handling as well as they had hoped they would, and I think that's why some of the cars are not running as fast. You can see Pearson's car go up as he goes into the turn. Rick Mass coming up on him, trying to make a pass on him there right now. But normally Larry Pearson's car is one of the better handling cars on the racetrack, but it's awful easy to miss the setup here at Darlington, and it's almost impossible to get a car set up perfectly here because the 2 turns are so different. Turns 1 and 2 are more normal oval track type turns, where turns 3 and 4 are long, sweeping turn, and you got to sacrifice some in one turn or the other.
There you can see Jeff Bodine in the number 15 car pass both Rick Mast and Larry Pearson. But Jeff Bodine is about half a straightaway back now. And we asked him earlier in the weekend, how does intimidation play a role on this racetrack?
I mean, you can't ignore if somebody runs into your door in your back quarter panel. You can't ignore that. If your car goes sideways, it's for real. You're sideways. And yeah, you've been intimidated. The fella that's doing it to you, he's got you out of shape. He's got you thinking about something other than going straight ahead and going fast and staying ahead of him. You're trying to save the car. So that's a form of intimidation. Sometimes you don't even need a bump. You just look up and see who it is, and you're intimidated. You know, I think everyone knows who I'm talking about there. But I intimidate some people. I think all the Winston Cup drivers intimidate the Busch Grand National drivers. When they see us coming, they're intimidated right there. They might take a little tighter grip on the steering wheel because they know we're going to either try to go by or just push them real hard and try to make them make a mistake.
Well, I think he was perhaps talking about Dale Earnhardt when he talked about this guy that we all knew who he was. We talked about him earlier. He don't mind getting in there and intimidating a little bit, and Jeff Bodine don't mind it either.
So there are mind games going on in addition to the battle on the racetrack. There is Bodine moving to the inside in turn 3. We're showing you an interval here between Bodine and the leader of the race, Harry Gant. And there you can see it's quite a significant advantage that Harry Gant has now. And we go back to this battle. It is Brad Teague, Morgan Shepherd, and Bobby Hillin Jr., the numbers 75, 97, and 81. Let's watch Bobby Hillin Jr. as he looked like he wanted to try for that position that's now held by Morgan Shepherd by going to the inside on the straightaway, but no luck this time.
No, he went awfully high going into that turn, but it did give him a good run coming off of turn 2, and now he's going to try Morgan on the inside going into turn 3. Let's see if he can make it work. Nope, not quite that time.
Well, you got to really watch turn 3 here. It's a very narrow groove up in that area, isn't it, Ned?
Yes, it is. It's very narrow. In fact, it's almost impossible to go in there side by side running at full speed. Now, Hillin comes all the way from the outside of the track, trying to dim down on the inside of Morgan Shepherd, but that didn't quite work either.
So Morgan Shepherd holds off the challenge of Bobby Hillin Jr., and this is for the 7th position. Shepherd in 7th right now. The 6th place car is the number 75 machine driven by Brad Teague.
One of the winners this year on the Busch Grand National Circuit. He won at Dover, Delaware back in May. He is one of 3 first-time winners on the circuit this year. Dick McCabe is a first-time winner. He won up in Maine, Oxford, Maine, and Rob Moroso won at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Now watch Morgan Shepherd as he's trying to gain the advantage. Looking to the inside of Brad Teague, but again, not able to take the position away from Brad for 6th position.
We have a report there might be some smoke coming from Dale Earnhardt's car. I beg your pardon, the Dale Earnhardt's car number 8. I get mixed up. He runs number 3 tomorrow in the Western Cup Series. We'll take a look at that car as we see Earnhardt going into turn 1.
Yeah, we don't see any visible signs right now, but
it could have been tire smoke maybe as he went into one of the turns. He's about to catch Rusty Wallace. Rusty is running in the 4th position, and Earnhardt moving in very close on Wallace as Wallace moved around the car number 56. That's Ron Cooper.
Ronald Cooper, one of those who began the race on Hoosier tires. And now there's clear sailing between Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt. Talk about mind games being played. These two have quite a rivalry. It is a very friendly rivalry. As a matter of fact, Dale Earnhardt was one of the first on the scene of Rusty's crash last week at Bristol, seeing if there was anything he could possibly do to help his friend, who at the time was unconscious and being tended to by our Dr. Jerry Punch. The lead continues to be held by Harry Gant. There he is.
Boy, that car is working perfectly. He just goes anywhere he wants to. He was able to work that traffic real good as he came up and lapping those cars, and now has just moved away from Jeff Bodine, continues to pull away.
All right, 41 laps are completed now, and the lead is held by Harry Gant. Running in 2nd position is Jeff Bodine. 3rd is Dale Jarrett. 4th, Rusty Wallace, and 5th, Dale Earnhardt.
Back at Darlington, South Carolina, trouble for Dale Jarrett, the 3rd place car. Unscheduled pit stop. Left front tire was going down on the Portaloo Oldsmobile. valuable time under green.
And right behind Dale Jarrett, the number 5 car, Jimmy Hensley, also making a pit stop. He was running 14th and now is in for a change of right side rubber. Remember, they can change as many tires as they want to under green, but under caution, they can only change 2. If they change more than that, they're penalized a lap.
And Bob, I'm sure that Dale Jarrett would rather have been able to change right side tires as opposed to left side tires, but as Jerry pointed out, the left front was going flat on his car, and it looks like Jarrett might be about to come back into the pits. He has slowed coming off the turn 4.
There's a number 25 car of Rob Moroso right behind the 7 car, the leader of the race, who is Harry Gant. And indeed, here comes Dale Jarrett back into the pits. A tough break for Dale, who is running a very strong 3rd position. Jerry is there again.
Well, they were not ready for it that
Dale
time.
Jarrett comes back in. They were looking at the tires with the Goodyear engineers, and about 15 of the crews were down here. And they are apparently not going to change tires. They are going to pull the hood pins and go underneath the hood. So apparently the problem they thought may have been a tire. And yes, the tires were not wearing that badly, but he apparently has a miss in the car. John Irvin, his crew chief, the veteran here, looks beneath the engine compartment of the Portaloo Oldsmobile. And now John says, leave the tires on it. We've got a more serious problem than that. And Dale Jarrett losing a lot of valuable time here in the pits.
Well, they are changing the right rear on the car, but they still are under the hood looking for something more major wrong with the automobile. Well, back on the racetrack, once again, good battle for position. There are 4 cars right there racing for position. Morgan Shepherd, Bobby Hillin Jr., Michael Waltrip, and Davey Allison. The slower car is the number 21 machine of Larry Pearson. He's being passed on the outside of the racetrack. And here is Brad Teague, that blue and red car, who actually is leading this contingent here. The number 42 car of Elton Sawyer has been lapped. Brad Teague is in 5th spot at number 75. And then comes Morgan Shepherd in the black number 97. Brad Teague moving to the inside of Elton Sawyer down the backstretch. They're side by side into turn number 3, and Brad goes very low on the racetrack, actually gets out of the racing groove, but now is able to pass Elton. And here will come Morgan Shepherd, Bobby Hillin Jr., Michael Waltrip, and Davey Allison. Good scramble for position here. They're 4 wide going into turn 1.
Michael Waltrip gets on the inside, got the advantage, and moved around Bobby Hillin Jr. Good piece of driving there by Mike Waltrip.
Larry Pearson is coming into the pits. It has not been a good day for Larry. The crew goes to work on the car. They're fueling it. They're changing tires on the right side.
And you can see one of the Junior Johnson Budweiser crew there working on the right rear tire. Did a good job of changing that tire.
Having some difficulty, however, at the right front of the car. Now they have the tire on, and they push him away. Well, Jerry Punch is with Dale Jarrett.
Dale, a short day for you. What happened out there?
Well, the upper control arm mount on the left-hand side has broke loose from the weld there and was letting the left front wheel move in and out. Something you don't see happen very often. You know, we keep a good check on these race cars. It's just something that happens every once in a while. So it's just too bad the Portaloo Oldsmobile was really running good. Car was a little tight at the first of the race. I was just waiting for that to work out. Here at Darlington, you don't race the first part, you just wait to the end, but it wasn't our day.
Everybody was concerned about tire wear. Now, your tires looked pretty good when they came off on that first stop.
Yeah, they sure did. You know, the tires are real good, you know. I think we all get a little concerned before the race that we know that Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company is always going to have us the best tire here possible, and they have us a good tire here today.
Well, you got to give Goodyear a hand. They have done an excellent job in preparing these cars for today's race. Harry Gant makes his way to pit road.
It's Jack Ingram in for a pit stop, and the number 11 Skoal-sponsored car. Jack has not been up to full song on the racetrack, and they're changing the rubber on the right side. Again, a little bit of a trouble with the right front of the car. And Jerry, here comes Harry Gant, as we saw him drop to the inside of the racetrack in turn number 3, and now indeed here he does come for his first pit stop of the afternoon.
Looks like they're going to the right side. We'll change those tires. Of course, they'll fill it up with gasoline. Now, he went 52 laps, and he could have gone farther than that as far as the fuel is concerned, but I'm sure they were concerned about the tires. They want to take those off, take a look at them. Maybe next time they'll be able to go farther on the set of tires.
Now they have the car fueled. It goes down off the jack. 20.3 seconds for Harry Gant on the first pit stop of the afternoon, and he roars back into competition. And talking with the tire officials here this afternoon, Goodyear said they thought they could get about 45 to 50 laps out of a set of tires, and Hoosier was saying up to 75, and we're certainly seeing that pretty close, because as Ned indicated, it's lap number 52 when the leader, Harry Gant, came in for a change of rubber. There's the number 15 car of Jeff Bodine,
who just went around Harry Gant, and that put Harry a lap down. But the way Harry has been running, and with fresh rubber on the right side, I suspect that he'll be able to move up quickly and get back in the lead lap. Here's a scramble back in the pack, and once again, as Davey Allison, Bobby Hillen, and Michael Waltrip go at it. You see Hillen in the yellow car, number 81. Davey Allison in car number 28. Michael Waltrip in his brother's car, number 17. They have really been having a good battle back there. And here's Harry Gant trying to get his lap back.
Trying to unlap himself, and indeed he does, going into turn number 3. So Harry Gant is back on the lead lap, and that would put him in 11th position. That's how many cars are on the lead lap. The leader is Jeff Bodine, right behind Harry. In second spot is the number 8 car, driven by Dale Earnhardt. Rusty Wallace moves to 3rd. Brad Teague up to 4th, and Morgan Shepherd in 5th spot now. So we'll be watching Jeff Bodine possibly make a pit stop here before long. At the moment, though, he is still up to full speed on the racetrack and leading this Gatorade 200 Busch Grand National race. And we'll be back with 55 laps completed. More of our live coverage from Darlington International Raceway. Stay with us. All right, thank you, Tim. We are at Darlington International Raceway in South Carolina for Busch Grand National Racing. The Gatorade 200, that's being led by Jeff Bodine. He has not made his first pit stop of the afternoon. Second is the number 15 car, driven by, or the number 8 car, driven by Dale Earnhardt, and Rusty Wallace is running in 3rd spot. We have already seen some first pit stops, including Harry Gant. Let's get out of the pits and Jerry Punch.
Well, Jack Ingram made a pit stop on lap 49 considerably earlier than you would expect him to come in. And the concern about tire wear is brought to bear by Ingram's pit stop. This is Ingram's right rear tire. Now, when this tire is brand new, it has 6 30-second worth of rubber. When it came off the car a minute ago, they measured it, and it had 1 30-second worth of rubber, so it's almost completely bald after 50 laps. A lot of concern now about tire wear for Ingram. And who's pitting beside Ingram? Well, Jeff Bodine. His crew came over and looked at this tire, and they're considering maybe bringing Bodine in within a few more laps.
We thought Jeff was coming in about 2 or 3 laps ago. The pit crew looked like it was getting ready for him, but so far, Jeff is staying out on the racetrack and trying to lengthen his lead over everybody else.
What they would like to do is try to run at least halfway, Bob, if possible, and then be able to just make one pit stop.
There's the number 6 car, driven by Tommy Houston. He is in for a pit stop. He is one of those who is right up there in Winston, where they're in Grand National points. And the number 81 car, just last lap over in turn number 2, had a brush with the wall, Ned.
Okay, he was running right in front of Davey Allison behind Brad Teague, and he got a little high going into that turn, and you can see the back end, the right rear quarter panel, clipped the wall. Bobby did a good job of hanging on, though, and bringing it back into the pits.
Not exactly where you would see that Darlington stripe put on the car, but indeed he put one on there.
He certainly did, and it could be that he had a tire go down or something that caused him to do that, because he is in the pits now getting right side tires.
Usually think of the Darlington stripe, what, up around turn number 4 on the front stretch?
Yeah, well, that term came about back when this track was first built, and up until they changed it back in the early 70s, when there was not a cement wall, it was a guardrail. In fact, in the early years, there was just a single guardrail around the track, and you just literally had to run up against that guardrail. If you were going to get around this track at a maximum speed, you had to have the right rear quarter panel just touching that guardrail all the way around between turns 3 and 4. You were really running on a fine line.
There you can see the pace of the field so far, 150.100 miles an hour, and that is about 19 miles an hour faster than the track record. And of course, we have had no caution flags during the first 67 laps of this event, helping the speed stay right up there. Leader Jeff Bodine, right behind him, the number 21 car of Larry Pearson, but he now is 2 laps down on the field. And as a matter of fact, of the top 5 drivers in Busch Grand National points at this moment, only the number 84 car of Mike Alexander is on the lead lap. So indeed, the Winston Cup drivers are putting on a pretty good show here this afternoon.
And I believe that Mike Alexander has since made a pit stop since we showed that he was on the lead lap, and so he should be a lap down now. So the point leaders are having a tough day. However, pit stops will be coming up for others here before too long, including Jeff Bodine. It looks like he's going to try to stretch it to the halfway point before he comes in so he can get by with one pit stop, and that would mean that he'd need to go about 73, 74 laps.
And we're watching the number 17 car of Michael Waltrip. We have a report that he will be coming in for right side tires and fuel in a lap or so. He stays out there on the track right now, but we're watching the pit stop by Michael Waltrip. There's the leader, Jeff Bodine, and once again, let's go to Jerry Punch, who may be able to tell us what exactly this crew is thinking about in terms of pit strategy.
And your speculation was exactly correct on what they're trying to do here in the Bodine pit. Now, this race is 147 laps long. Halfway would be 74 laps. Now, they think it can run probably 75 laps. That is 102 and a half miles. That's really stretching it on field, but if they can do that, they can make it on one pit stop. Let's check with the crew chief here, Waddell Wilson, to see what they're going to do. Walk over here to Waddell. Waddell, can you guys make it 75 laps? Can you make it past the halfway?
Well, right now we'd hope to, so we can just change the rights. Because we looked at Harry's tires when they took them off, they look good. If we can just stretch our fuel that far, we'd be in good shape. Of course, there's always the possibility of a caution.
You got to remember, these are V6 motors with 390 cubic feet carburetor, so they will get awfully good gas mileage. They're going to try to go maybe to lap 75, just past the halfway.
All right, and as Jeff comes off the fourth corner, he will complete lap number 71, so he has only 4 more to go before he reaches that halfway mark. Jeff Bodine from Chemung, New York, leads this Busch Grand National race here at Darlington, nearing the halfway point. We hope you're enjoying our live coverage this afternoon. Don't forget the Southern 500 from here tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll be right back. There's the leader, Jeff Bodine, and he receives the indication from the official starter that we are at the halfway point. The number 2 car of LD Otter was in for a pit stop and is moving very slowly down the backstretch.
He took on 4 tires when he was in the pits. He's the first driver that we've seen that change 4 tires on the car. Also, while we're away on the break, Brad Teague came in for a change of right side tires, and so did Rob Moroso in car number 25. Rick Mast is in the pits right now, and they're about to bring Dale Earnhardt in, who is running in second place.
Indeed, his crew is standing ready, but here comes Jeff Bodine crossing the line again, completing 76 laps. So he is now 1 lap beyond the halfway point and still no pit stop. But here comes Dale Earnhardt in for his first scheduled pit stop of the afternoon. He brings the number 8 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet to a halt, and the crew goes to work. Let's see what happens here. They're changing rubber on the right side of the car. Remember, they can change as many tires as they want to, as long as we're under green. Let's see what happens. They've got the rubber changed on the right side of the car, and they're still putting fuel in. Now that they go to the other side, and indeed, we do have a change of rubber on the left side of the car also. That's LD Otter, the number 2 machine, right ahead of Dale Earnhardt. It's a slow pit stop because of the 4-tire change. And now they've completed the work, and there goes Dale Earnhardt back out onto the racetrack. But a lengthy pit stop under green for Dale.
A little over 30 seconds it took him to make that pit stop, Bob. Although he's set now to go the rest of the way. I don't think there's any question about that, but it looks like there's a little smoke coming from the car. Maybe that was just dust from down on the inside of the racetrack. No, there's smoke coming from Earnhardt's car as he heads up the backstretch. In fact, he's pulled back to the inside of the racetrack. He might be coming back in. Now he gets back up to the outside. Here's Jeff Bodine. Bodine's crew ready for him to come in. He did put a lap on Dale Earnhardt when Earnhardt was in the pits. In fact, about a lap and a half.
All right, there's the crew waiting for Jeff Bodine to come in for this stop. He's in turn number 3 now, and let's see if he drops low on the racetrack. Indeed he is, as Brad Teagues goes to the high side. Jeff Bodine brings the car up the 22 degrees of banking. He comes around the 4th turn and comes into the pits. Jerry Punch will call this pit stop by the leader, Jeff Bodine.
Waddell Wilson will have the signboard, and Bodine almost overshoots his pit. He finally gets the car stopped. He didn't quite see him, and now they will go to work on the right side of the car. Bodine did not see the pit board as he was coming down pit road. They were flashing it, and now they will go to work. That cost him an extra 3 or 4 seconds. They will change only the 2 tires, add 1 can of fuel, and we are told Bodine's brakes were a little bit hot. He couldn't get the car to stop. Now he's down and away in 15 and 8/10 seconds, so it cost him a little bit of time. Let's look at Dick Berger. Dick?
Jerry We can hardly see the inspection points, but they're all holding up just fine. No problems with tires.
All right, so both Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine have made their pit stops. It was a little hard to understand there why Jeff missed the pit. There weren't any cars parked there near his pit, and he just seemed to overshoot it or not know exactly where it was.
Yeah, evidently he did have a brake problem as he came into the pits. Here's Harry Gant trying to move around Davey Allison, and in the pits also now is Michael Waltrip. That's his first pit stop and perhaps his only one, because he should be able to go the rest of the way from here.
And this is the battle for the lead as Harry Gant passes the number 28 car of Davey Allison and goes up front. So Harry has the lead back once again. Allison moves down to second spot. Third is Michael Waltrip. Fourth is Brad Teague. In fifth position is Bobby Hillin Jr. And in sixth, the number 15 car of Jeff Bodine. And he is going to be black flag for missing his pit. Let's go down to Jerry Punch once again.
Well, we are told by NASCAR, some of the officials locally, that they will penalize Jeff Bodine for missing his pit. And Bodine comes in and stops and shakes his fist at one of the NASCAR officials. Bodine says, hey, I couldn't help it. My brakes wouldn't stop. He almost didn't get stopped now. They come in, they will sit him here and change left side tires. But a costly time element. Now the left rear tire going on. Another 15 seconds. And they are holding Jeff Bodine more in the pit. NASCAR standing here holding the Levi Garrett car. It's a costly mistake. Jeff Bodine and the crew.
Well, Jerry, as he went out of the pits a moment ago, the fellow at the end of pit road with the stop and go sign did hold up the stop sign to him, so we had a feeling that they would be blacklegging him, having to come back in, long pit stop, but they took advantage of the fact they had to come back in and change the left side tires, and here's the reason why the penalty was imposed.
Jeff came in, and let's see if we can detect a brake problem.
Yeah, it looked like the right front had slid there for just a moment, and then it started rolling again, and he was too far out. He was outside of the designated area, the white line there where he's supposed to be in his pits, and went past his pits into someone else's, and so that was the reason for the penalty.
So back in the lead once again with 82 laps completed is Harry Gant. We've had no caution flags during this race so far, a very clean and safe event, and we'll be back to continue our live coverage in just a moment. Back at Darlington International Raceway and the Gatorade 200 Busch Grand National Race. The lead held by the number 7 car driven by Harry Gant. There you can see he's in a little bit of traffic once again as the number 2 car of El Diantro is ahead of him, and so is the number 11 machine driven by Jack Ingram. Well, Jack drops to the inside of the track, and Harry passes on the outside. El Diantro, the number 2 car, now right ahead of Harry Gant, but he is several laps down. There are only 3 cars on the lead lap, as a matter of fact.
And Harry Gant has about a half a lap of lead over Dale Earnhardt, who is showing second position now. Now remember, Earnhardt just on 4 tires, but Harry Gant will have another pit stop to make. But he can't go the rest of the way on gas. Well, I say that, but we've seen it go a long way in the past. But he certainly had more than 100 miles to go. I'd say about 120 miles to go when he came in for his first pit stop.
Yeah, his was quite off sequence and much ahead of the others. There's the number 8 car driven by Dale Earnhardt, who is in second spot at the moment, but as Ned indicated, just about a half a lap behind the number 7 car of Harry Gant. Rusty Wallace runs in third. He's the only other car on the lead lap.
There's still a little bit of smoke coming from Dale Earnhardt's car. It doesn't seem to be getting any worse. In fact, we see it more in turns 1 and 2. He's in turns 3 and 4 right now, but there's just a little bit of smoke coming from the rear. You can see it as it comes off of the turn. Part of that could have been tire smoke, but there's some other smoke that's coming from that car as well. We'll watch him as he goes into turn 1 and see if we can pick it up there on the camera. We can see it with the naked eyes. We look down to him, and at that time it didn't look like there was smoke. There was a little bit of a puff that came out of him, so apparently it's not too serious for him.
He remains in second position. We have had 4 lead changes among 3 drivers so far. The drivers who have led so far in this race, Jeff Bodine, also Harry Gant, and the number 28 car of Davey Allison, who was a leader of the race earlier. And there is the interval, and it is quite a lead that Harry Gant has now on everybody else.
He is really setting a fast pace. Now, we have word that he might be able to go the rest of the way. They've got some awfully good gas mileage on that car, as we've seen earlier this year on ESPN. We've also seen him run out of gas a time or two while he was up front. So time will tell, but maybe the crew will try to send him all the way from here.
Our statisticians indicate that he's getting 6.9 miles per gallon. That would be enough to get him to the checkered flag without another pit stop. So let's see if indeed that occurs as we enter the second half of this event. Harry Gant finished 4th last week in the Busch Grand National race we televised from Bristol International Raceway. The number 8 car, we understand, is going to be black flag. That, of course, is second place Dale Earnhardt. We've been noticing the smoke coming from the car on numerous occasions. There he is, still up to full speed, but there the black flag has been given to Dale Earnhardt. So he'll have to come in for a check by the NASCAR officials.
I would guess that perhaps it's either transmission or rear end grease leaking from that car and causing that smoke to come from it. It certainly is not affecting his running out on the racetrack because he's setting a very good pace out there, but something is causing that smoke, and it perhaps is rear end or transmission grease.
Well, Dale Earnhardt is heeding the black flag warning. He's off the banking and coming in for the pit stop, the mandatory pit stop indicated by NASCAR. And here he is stopping in his pit area. The crew goes to work underneath the car, checking it over to see if they can indeed find any evidence of oil leaking from the race car.
Well, he has gone a lap down to Harry Gant. He was about a half a lap behind Gant before he came into the pit, so Gant is on the backstretch now. So Earnhardt has gone a lap down. Now they go under the hood of the Goodrich Chevrolet. Of course, Earnhardt owns this car, or his wife does, we should say, Teresa Earnhardt. Always one of the top contenders in any race he runs in. Doesn't matter what division.
Well, he'll certainly be one of the contenders tomorrow when we drop the green flag on the Southern 500 Winston Cup race at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We hope you'll be with us for what is a Labor Day tradition in auto racing, the Southern 500. They push Dale Earnhardt back onto the racetrack. Nope, I don't believe he's going onto the racetrack. He is indeed pulling behind the wall. So the second major contender, Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt, have already gone away as far as a possible win. And we now have Harry Gant still leading the race. Down to the pit area.
Well, we're in the Harry Gant pit with crew chief Jim Harmon. And Jim, the question, you guys pitted on lap 54, took on gas and right side tires. Can you make it the rest of the way on fuel?
No, we cannot. We'll have to pit around lap 133. And we're trying to decide right now whether to put on 4 tires or 2 tires. We don't think we can go the rest of the distance on right sides, and we know we can't on lefts.
Well, some critical decisions to be made here in the Harry Gant pit, and these guys were happy to see one of their competitors, Earnhardt, move away because they realize Earnhardt's tough at Darlington, but the concern in Gant's pit, not really gas, but tires. How long can those left side tires last?
So the drama will be played out here in the closing laps of this race. Gant will definitely have to come in for at least one more pit stop. 95 laps have been completed. 52 to go. Dick Berggren is with Dale Earnhardt.
Well, unhooked, that means you're done. What happened, Dale?
Got an oil leak, and they black flagged us, so it's smoking a little bit. So ain't no use in running lap down. If you can't win, they just be out there.
He runs this race to win only. No points involved here for Dale Earnhardt. He says, if I can't win, I don't want to play. He's out.
So Dale now will focus his full concentration on tomorrow and a win at the Southern 500. Here's another guy who'll be competing in that race tomorrow, who is currently leading this Busch Grand National race, Dale Earnhardt. His best finish in the 1988 Grand National Division was here earlier this year. He finished in the runner-up position. Back in a moment with more of the Gatorade 200. We're at Darlington, South Carolina for the Busch Grand National race on this Saturday afternoon. Tomorrow, here at this racetrack, the Southern 500. Live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and all of the Winston Cup stars will be there. They'll be led to the green flag by Bill Elliott tomorrow afternoon. We hope you can join us for what I said is a Labor Day tradition throughout the United States, the Southern 500. They've been running this race since 1950. Now, here is Harry Gant, and the car right ahead of him is the number 66 car driven by Rusty Wallace. That is the second place machine, so Harry right now is going to put the entire field one lap down. Let's see if he can do it. They go into turn number 1, and indeed he does. Harry Gant is on the lead lap by himself.
He is really flying here today. Harry Gant perhaps drives this racetrack as good as anyone who has ever been here, excepting maybe David Pearson, and I think that he will rival David Pearson as far as being able to get around this thing at a maximum speed with whatever he's driving. Of course, he's a former winner of the Southern 500, which we'll see tomorrow. And as you mentioned earlier, Harry has not won on this Busch Grand National circuit this year. He normally does win, and looks like he's got a heck of a shot at it here today. If he does, he would be the 17th different winner. Already 16 different drivers have won on this circuit this year.
Hey, here's a battle for third position. The car to the inside is Michael Waltrip, but he takes over third position from the number 84 car, driven by Mike Alexander. So the 17 of Michael Waltrip has passed Mike Alexander, and Waltrip goes to third. Now, certainly, Mike Alexander is running best among the Grand National regulars, and he is threatening to pick up some valuable points in the Busch Grand National Series. Right now is fourth behind Michael Waltrip, and of course these guys are also one lap down to the field.
And what we were talking about at the top of the show, Bob, as far as the point standings are concerned, if one of the Busch Grand National regulars get up in the top 5 and finish there, and then you'll have 3 or 4 or maybe 5 Winston Cup drivers, well, they eat up a lot of points in between there, and that's exactly where we stand right now, with Mike Alexander in 4th place, Morgan Shepherd in 5th place, and a couple of other Winston Cup drivers along in there as well.
A win is worth 180 points, and the least amount of points that will be awarded today for the 39th place finisher, 46. It appears as if Harry Gant may be thinking about making a pit stop. Indeed, he is. They said lap 133. Nope, not at all. It's lap 104. And Harry Gant comes in for a pit stop. Jerry Punch will again call the action.
Well, the reason for this stop is that crew chief Travis Carter on the Winston Cup car came over here and said, hey, guys, don't take any chances. You got a lap on the field. Come in and put 4 fresh tires on the car. You only got about 45 laps to go. That's what they're going to do. Light side tires going on the Skull Bandit Buick. That's the Buick automobile, a brand new car. You heard Dick Berggren say a minute ago. Second can of fuel going in the car. They come around to change left side tires. And Rusty Wallace in turn 3 trying to unlap himself. Now Wallace out of turn 4. Here comes Rusty Wallace. He will come by down the front straightaway, and he will unlap himself as Gant gets left side tires. And the leader now going by. Rusty Wallace now going by to turn 1 and 2. As Harry Gant now still in the pits. A lengthy pit stop for Gant. Now he's down and away. 32 seconds. Long stop for Gant under green.
Well, it was a long stop, Jerry, but he does stay in the lead lap. But now he's going to find himself better than a half a lap behind Rusty Wallace. But with those 4 fresh tires on it, he will really be able to zip around this track. He was already outrunning everybody with the hot tires on. So now that he has fresh tires, he will really outrun them. Mike Alexander, who had moved up into second after Gant made his pit stop, is in the pits for a change of left side tires. And Jimmy Hensley coming back in the pits in the Advance Auto Parts car.
And so the guy who was in for a ride of his life last Friday afternoon in practice for Winston Cup, rolling 5, 6, 7 times down the front straightaway at Bristol, has come back to lead the Grand National race here this afternoon. Rusty Wallace leads. Harry Gant will be right back with more from Darlington International Raceway. Thanks, Tim. The top 5 at the moment in the Gatorade 200. Rusty Wallace, Michael Waltrip second, Davey Allison third, Morgan Shepherd is fourth, and Harry Gant, because of that pit stop that you saw just a few moments ago, has dropped all the way back to 5th position.
And he has just moved around Davey Allison and has taken over that 3rd position. He moved around Brad Team, I guess, a little while ago. So Gant, as we suspected, really on the move after he put those 4 fresh tires on.
But at the moment, Rusty Wallace is the leader of this race. We now have 8 cars that are on the lead lap. Also included on the lead lap, 75 Brad Teague, the 15 car of Jeff Bodine, and the 34 machine of Jimmy Spencer. A couple of cars have dropped out of the race recently, the number 90 car of Ed Barrier and the 81 of Bobby Hillin Jr.
Again, is running about 12.5 seconds behind the leader, Rusty Wallace. Michael Waltrip is about 6 seconds behind Rusty Wallace.
112 laps have been completed. This is Rusty's 5th Busch Grand National race of 1988. His best finish was an 8th in this race in the spring. He has 2 wins in Grand National competition. I beg your pardon, his best finish was second here at Darlington in 1985. So Rusty Wallace looking for his first win in Busch Grand National competition.
Harry Gant is gaining better than half a second a lap on him, Bob. Rusty, of course, changed right side tires when he made his pit stop, so his left side tires has to be getting pretty well worn, where Gant has on the 4 fresh tires. So even if this thing stays green the rest of the way, Gant has plenty of time to run Rusty down at the pace that he's going right now.
And Michael Waltrip is getting a very good ride out of this car that's owned and qualified by his brother Darrell. But Michael is really looking good here this afternoon and is in 2nd position.
Yeah, he's holding his own with Rusty Wallace. Rusty's not gaining on Michael Waltrip. But Harry Gant's gaining on both of them. And Jimmy Hensley, one of the top drivers in the Busch Grand National Series, is really having problems. He's down at the end of pit road. He was in just a moment ago. The car stalled on him. They pushed him and tried to get him cranked. Had to push him back up pit road. He's back in now, and they're pushing the car again down. It looks like he's going behind the wall. So Jimmy Hensley, who had high hopes of winning the Busch Grand National Championship this year, looks like it's going to be out of it. That car owned by Sam Martin.
Let's go to the editor of Stock Car Racing magazine, Dick Berggren.
Well, Bob Jenkins, I feel sort of as if I'm in a Winston Cup pit because I've seen just about every Winston Cup crew chief walking up and down pit road. Here's one of them right now, Steve Meal. You were just looking at tires. What do you see from a race today that'll help you tomorrow?
Well, we're concerned about the high tire wear we've seen all week, and that rain this morning washed the rubber off the racetrack. So we're a little bit worried, but this tremendous number of green flag laps they run today should put enough rubber down. It will be in good shape tomorrow, but this is a good deal for us. We come out here and worry 2 or 3 hours to get in good shape for all the worrying we're going to have to do all day tomorrow.
I think it's a chance to see a real good race, too. We might also mention Mike Waltrip is running on only 2 outside fresh tires and holding his own with only 2 good ones on the car.
In fact, right now, Dick, he is gaining on Rusty Wallace. Not too long ago, he was about 6 seconds behind Wallace, and he's less than 4 seconds behind him now, so he is definitely picking up on Rusty Wallace.
There is Rusty moving to the high side of the number 10 car, driven by Preston Brown from Jacksonville, North Carolina, one of those guys who was making his first Busch Grand National start this afternoon. Wallace now is in some heavy traffic here on the main straightaway, just below our broadcast position.
He's having a tough time in that traffic, Bob, because those left side tires are pretty well worn out on the car, or at least they're heated up enough that he's not getting the traction that he needs. And when he moves up on traffic, he has to sort of tiptoe around them. He just can't drive around them like we see Harry Gant as he goes through traffic. Sometimes Rusty is having to drive much more careful, and Michael Waltrip is definitely gaining on him. He's about 2 seconds behind him now.
Well, we've got 30 more laps to go in this race, and the question is, will Rusty be able to hold off the challenge of Michael Waltrip and Davey Allison and the number 7 car of Harry Gant, who, remember, has 4 fresh tires and is moving up quickly through the field and closing in on the leader.
Michael Waltrip now is just 2 seconds behind Rusty Wallace. He can see him as Wallace goes into turn 3. Michael Waltrip is not too far behind him. However, Waltrip runs up behind a slow car going into turn 3 and has to back off for just a moment, but then he gets on the high side and moves around. And the car number 40 that's running in front, that's the Frank Fleming car that has been running in front of Rusty Wallace for several laps. Rusty just simply has not been able to move up and move around him.
The car just doesn't seem like it's running at full capacity to me. It just doesn't seem like it's as fast as some of the other cars out there on the racetrack, including Gant and Michael Waltrip for that matter. We are timing this lap to give you an indication of indeed how fast Rusty Wallace is going here on the lead.
But no, he is not getting around this racetrack nearly as fast as he was earlier. They were running about 32.5 seconds a little bit earlier, and here you see already 34.5 seconds. He's way off the pace. And I think it's the tire's fault. I think that's the situation that's just not letting him get around the racetrack.
That's an average speed of about 142.539 miles an hour. And Rusty Wallace qualified 4th fastest at 155. So he is about, 13 miles an hour slower than the speed at which he qualified.
And now the car number 17 of Michael Waltrip is within about 7 or 8 car lengths of him. In a lap or two, he's going to be right up on his back bumper.
So we are set up for perhaps some very exciting racing here in the closing stages of this event, which has not been nearly as competitive as it has been in previous years. And look at this. Rusty is now really slowing on the racetrack, and Michael Waltrip in car number 17 goes into the lead of our Gatorade 200.
Well, we mentioned a moment ago that Harry Gant was running about 11.5 seconds behind Rusty Wallace as Brad Teague comes into the pits in the Food Country car. Right now, Harry Gant is 3 7/10 seconds behind the leader, Michael Waltrip. So Gant is still gaining very quickly on the front runners.
This is Mike Waltrip's 3rd start in Busch Grand National competition ever. His previous finishes at Indianapolis at Raceway Park, he was 14th, and he was 23rd at Bristol. But this afternoon, it is Michael Waltrip who is leading this race, as Rusty Wallace obviously is having problems with his number 66 machine, and Harry Gant is moving up quickly, and perhaps in a few more laps will be ready to challenge Michael Waltrip for that lead. So we'll be back with more right after this. Ned Jarrett, Jerry Punch, and Dick Berggren back at Darlington International Raceway for you on a Saturday afternoon. The Gatorade 200 Busch Grand National event being led by the number 17 car driven by Michael Waltrip. The car qualified by Darrell Waltrip, with the driving chores taken over by Michael Waltrip. However, the story is Harry Gant and his closing in on Michael Waltrip, and the interval is only 1.3 seconds. At least that's what it was last lap. Let's check it this time. It sure isn't going to be very much. There it is. It's 1.2 seconds, and indeed, Harry Gant is closing in. Let's go to the pit area quickly.
Well, there's a potential problem for Harry Gant. Let's check with Jim Harmon, the crew chief. Jim, I understand you guys got a throttle problem. What's wrong?
Well, the throttle spring broke on the carburetor about 15 laps ago. Harry's having a real hard time. He's pulling the accelerator up with his right foot going in the corner, but he's doing one hell of a job. He's a tremendous race car driver.
Now, what's happening is the throttle is hanging wide open going into the corner, and Harry's left foot, remember, was broken, so it was in a plastic cast. He can't use the left foot, so he has to push the throttle with his right foot and then take his toe and pull the throttle back off the floorboard, so no wonder he's catching it so quickly.
Well, if you run wide open, what you can't do around this racetrack, and there he goes. He has caught Michael Waltrip now, and look at him pull up beside him and going up the backstretch and into turn 3. Let's see how he does that accelerator. Well, he just drives right on in there.
Harry Gant has taken over the lead from Michael Waltrip. So Gant now becomes, or has made, the 7th lead change of the afternoon. 4 leaders in this race.
That car has worked so well all afternoon. They had the luxury of coming in to put on 4 new tires. He had just left the field, decided the smart thing to do, rather than take chances of any worn tires, to come in and put on 4 fresh ones, and it has worked for him because he's run everybody down. He came out in 5th position, or actually a little further back than that, but it didn't take him too long to get back to the front.
The number 66 car, Rusty Wallace, that was leading a few laps ago, has dropped back to 3rd place now. There he is, Rusty Wallace. Obviously something wrong with the car. Dick Berggren, fill us in.
Well, let's go right to the source. Barry Dodson, the crew chief. What is wrong with Rusty's car? Why are you backing up?
Got a spare push. The push is bad enough, but we made the wrong gear selection also. So the car just doesn't have any horsepower getting back up on the straightaway. It's the V6 is touchy, you know, but we're doing all we can do. We're hoping to get a caution, get some left side tires on it, take a bunch of wedge out. I don't know if we'll get that lucky or not.
They were hoping to get rid of a push on the first pit stop. They've been troubled with it all day, as have many of the teams up and down pit road.
Well, it just got passed for 3rd position as Davey Allison went around him, and Jeff Bodine is not too far behind him. Bodine now running in 5th position, and he'll be moving up on Rusty Wallace before too long. And when he said push, that means when he goes into the turn, that the front end of the car just simply does not want to cut. And it pushes up the racetrack, and that is awfully hard on the right front tire. And usually the longer you run, the worse it gets, because you heat up that right front tire, and it just causes it to push that much more and won't turn in the corners.
The number 30 car right behind Rusty Wallace is driven by Kyle Petty, again, one of the Winston Cup regulars. And then the 21 car, our winner last weekend at Bristol, Tennessee, Larry Pearson, who has not been on the pace all afternoon and is a couple of laps down to the field now. And there's the 25 car, also of Rob Moroso, and here are your Grand National regulars, as Larry Pearson is 4th in the Grand National points and Rob Moroso 6th going into this 24th event of the year. And the number 15 car of Jeff Bodine is in 5th position. He is the last car on the lead lap, and there's Moroso getting a little bit out of shape as they came off the 4th corner, as he gives the high racing line to Jeff Bodine. Nice gentlemanly and sportsmanlike move there by Rob Moroso.
And here's Jeff Bodine moving up on the outside of Rusty Wallace. That's for the 4th position, and Rusty doesn't fight him at all. He just moves over and lets him go, because he knows that his car is not running as fast as Jeff's now, so he just is trying to hang on, as Barry Dodson says, hoping they can catch a caution with only 13 more laps to go.
Well, you know, a few laps ago, I counted Jeff Bodine out of this race because of the fact that he was penalized for missing his pit on the pit stop, but indeed he has gotten back on the lead lap and is in 5th. And if we do have a caution, he may be a challenger for the lead, but we have only got 13 more laps to go. Oh, and we have a problem here, as Rusty Wallace's car really slowed down, and he was hit by Rob Moroso.
Yeah, Rusty went into the turn and slowed dramatically as he went into that turn, and he's slowing much more now. It looks like he might be headed into the pits. And Rob Moroso went into the turn at his normal speed, and when Rusty was there slowing down, he just bumped into him.
And
Let's look at it again.
Back and take a look at it again.
Okay, you can see as they head into the turn, Rusty slowed and went up in the middle of the turn, and Rob Moroso had committed himself. You see Larry Pearson going by on the inside, so he just bumped him straight. Thank goodness it was not hard enough to bump him around. Let's go to the pits and Dick Berger.
Well, they are surely ready here, and I'll guarantee you with a set of left side tires, and I can tell you why he slowed down. The left front tire is absolutely flat on Rusty Wallace's car. He apparently just couldn't hang on any longer. Oh, and now the car is stalled. He's got to go in again. We're under yellow here, so tough break for Rusty Wallace.
Dick, I think he went a lap down during that encounter. It's too bad that he couldn't hang on for at least one more lap as the caution came out. Perhaps some debris on the track from that little encounter down there. We're not sure what the reason for the caution is, but we do understand it was because of debris on the racetrack. So if Rusty could have held on for one more lap, he perhaps could have stayed in the lead lap.
And it is, believe it or not, our first caution flag of the afternoon. And it is not because of an accident or a spin. It's because of debris on the racetrack. But it definitely does close in the field now for the final 10 laps of this race. Well, the number 13 green race cars eating peanuts in the pits, all kinds of things like that. We're supposed to have brought bad luck a few years ago, but there are new things to do now. Here's Ned with an ESPN Quick Fact. Quick Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
The sport of auto racing is very demanding physically and mentally on the race driver. And, of course, the mechanical aspect of it is always important. But something that we don't think about very often is the driver and any superstitions that he may have. Grand National Champion Larry Pearson has some superstitions. Larry, how about those?
Yeah, Ned, last year when I won the championship, I started wearing the same clothes to the racetrack. And ever since then, I've been trying to find me a pair of clothes, you know, this year to wear, and I seem to have found it. I still have the same old socks that I wore last year, and they have holes in them and everything else, so I always wear them on race day. And what I have here is the old Chattanooga Chew hat that I wore all last year and year before. You can see how dirty it is and everything. It's put together by staples and everything like that, and I always wear or carry this with me in the race car on race day.
And you also make a stop at a store here in South Carolina.
That's true. There's an old country store here at Darlington, and every year I always go by and buy me a case of Red Rock drink. It's a strawberry-flavored drink, and I always take a drink of Red Rock before a race.
Well, we understand that Dale Earnhardt goes by that same store and gets some of that Red Rock drink. Now, back when I was driving race cars, the superstitions were the number 13, don't get your picture made before the race, and the color green.
Certainly, if the color green still had superstition associated with us, we would have a lot of unfortunate cars, but the color green doesn't seem to bother the drivers anymore. We're under caution for the first time at Darlington. We're back at Darlington, and you can see the enthusiasm being displayed by Darrell Waltrip. He's unhappy with something. In any case, his brother Michael is in third position here, and it is a great race as the green has come out from our caution period, and the leader is Harry Gant, but right behind him is Jeff Bodine, then Michael Waltrip, and Davey Allison. And Darrell might have been upset with Jeff Bodine. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. Michael tried to make a pass there a lap ago and couldn't quite do it. Of course, Bodine is running in the second position, and he has the right to the racetrack, and he knows how to use up the racetrack.
By the way, these 4 cars right here are the only ones on the lead lap, but we do have a great battle shaping up here.
Well, Gant's still showing the strength that he has shown all afternoon, as it looks like I thought Brad Teague had dipped down to the inside, but Gant's car has just been so strong. After he passed Jeff Bodine early in the race, he has been a dominant force, even though he has made 4 pit stops and ended up the front runners.
We have less than 5 laps to go. Coming by this time, it'll complete lap number 143 and a spin on the backstretch and a car into the wall. That's Patty Moise in car number 37, and the caution flag will come out, I believe.
Patty sitting down on the inside next to the retaining wall just off of turn 2 on the backstretch.
Caution is out, and with now 4 laps to go. So, will we see this race end under caution?
They'll certainly try to get Patty Moise righted and headed back out on the racetrack or into the pits as quickly as possible.
And Darrell Waltrip continues to watch his brother, but Darrell is not happy about something. That's quite obvious.
Yes, it is, and that's heck, you ought to be happy with Michael running up there in third place and has a chance to win this thing.
Well, he has had a magnificent race. Michael Waltrip, very, very impressive in his 3rd Busch Grand National start ever. He started 10th, moved up to 9th by lap 25. He was up to 6th on lap 50, 6th at lap 75. He was up to 4th at the end of 100 laps, and he was in the lead at the end of 125, and now runs 3rd. So the caution is out. They're trying to get Patty Moise's car off the track in the backstretch. We'll be back in just a moment. We are back at Darlington International Raceway, and there are 2 more laps to go in this race. 145 laps have been completed. Patty Moise did get into the ambulance. She walked there under her own power and doesn't appear to be seriously injured, but there you can see that the Crisco sponsored car that she drives has been torn up pretty badly there in the front end. She did make contact with the inside retaining wall coming out of turn number 2. There's Kyle Petty, who has a tire problem on the left side of that machine.
Well, it does look like he has a tire down, but he has been going around. Yeah, it looks like the left front is flat on the car, and there's been smoke coming from the car. Perhaps it's coming from that tire. We thought a moment ago that it had blown an engine, but he's just trying to ride it out. He's hoping that this thing will end under caution.
He is in 15th place, 2 laps down. Kyle Petty will be another one of those competing tomorrow in the Southern 500. They have gotten Patty's car off the racetrack. It is behind the pit wall on the backstretch. So I don't know what's going to happen here. They usually give the drivers the 1 more lap signal, and as they come around this time, they would have gotten the white flag. So I don't know whether we're going to, I guess we're not going to be able to end this under green.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to get it restarted, because they do give them 1 lap to go before they display the green, and this time around they're scheduled to get the white flag.
So the pace car leads the field slowly off of corner number 4. It appears as if Harry Gant will win his 2nd consecutive race here at Darlington in the fall part of the year.
And his first of 1988, which would make him the 17th winner on this Busch Grand National Circuit. You see the white flag being given to Harry Gant, so we will end under caution.
And it'll be his 5th career win in Grand National competition. Ed Whitaker, the owner of the car, Jim Harmon, the crew chief. But I'll tell you, there are a couple of guys, in fact, those that are finishing on the lead lap here have really had a great afternoon. Jeff Bodine coming back from a penalty assessed when he missed his pit. Michael Waltrip with just an outstanding ride today for brother Darrell. And then Davey Allison there in number 28, who will finish 4th in this race, has also had a very good afternoon.
Yes, he has. He's had a very good run. He had a good run at Bristol last week on the short track. Morgan Shepherd will wind up, it looks like, in 5th place. He's 1 lap down.
Kyle Petty continues to struggle in his Ford, just circling the track very, very slowly because the left front tire is flat. Davey Allison, as a matter of fact, finished 7th in last weekend's Grand National race at Bristol and will wind up with the 4th place honors in this one. Field now in turn number 3, and again, we are going to end the race under caution, and Harry Gant will be the winner. Second caution of the afternoon brought out on lap number 144 when Patty Moise spun and hit the wall coming off of corner number 2. Now the pace car has the field in corner number 4.
I don't really think that Patty spinning out changed the outcome of the race too much, Bob, because Harry Gant looked like he pretty well had it in hand. That car has worked so well all afternoon, and he was out front, had about a 2-car length lead over Jeff Bodine, and the checkered flag comes out.
Harry Gant has won the Gatorade 200 at Darlington International Raceway. The crew celebrating the victory. There's the crew chief, Jim Harmon. And Harry Gant has the win. That's Davey Allison, who has pulled down to the inside of the track and moved alongside Harry there for a moment, congratulating him on his victory. This was his 9th race of the year in Busch Grand National competition. He backs up this win here this afternoon with a 2nd place finish earlier here in Darlington. He was 6th at the Grand National race in Charlotte. He finished 4th last weekend. So there you are. Jeff Bodine finishes in 2nd spot. And 3rd was Michael Waltrip. Davey Allison finishing in 4th position. And in 5th, a lap down, was Morgan Shepherd. So the Gatorade 200 is history, and we will be back in just a moment to move into Victory Lane, where Harry Gant will be proceeding, and we'll have a conversation with him. Back in just a moment at Darlington. We are back at Darlington. There's been a significant development here after the checkered came out. The pace car was hit, and hit hard, by Tommy Houston's car. Apparently the pace car was moving from its position and wanted to go out onto the racetrack when it was hit in the driver's side by Tommy Houston's car, and they have called for the ambulance over there at the scene of the crash. Let's go to Dick Berggren, who is with Tommy Houston.
Well, Tommy, what happened in that incident?
Well, they told me on the radio to take the car to the gas pumps on the backstretch, and when I was coming down through the pits, I started to go out the end of the pits, and this Pontiac pace car is real short, and I couldn't see over the end of the wall. We're sitting down so low, and when we did, the pace car driver just turned right in front of me, and man, it was, I couldn't go out against the wall, and I couldn't miss him, and I just locked it down and hoped he wasn't hurt. This tore his car, the pace car, up pretty bad, and this tore our car up bad.
It's a tough ending. It had been a good day for Tommy Houston up until this point. But right now, there's a guy who had a great day, and he's in Victory Lane with Jerry Punch. Jerry?
Well, Harry Gant climbs out of the Skull Bandit Buick, and Harry, first, congratulations on a great win.
Thank you very much. This Buick, Ed Whitaker's Buick, it ran super all day today. We got one of those Buick V6 Jim Ruggles engines in there, and I didn't have to run hard. I still got my leg in a cast here, and so the car having as much power and handle the way it did, the Buick, if I had had 2 good legs, I could have probably run a lot better today, but everything was just beautiful. The car just worked so good. And like I say, that Buick V6 is just hard to beat.
Harry, a brand new race car. The guys finished it at midnight Wednesday night, brought it down here, and it ran flawlessly. But one concern they had was that throttle spring. How are you handling that?
The throttle spring broke about 30 laps to go when first time I passed Morgan. And I didn't know it till I went under him and to back off to go in the corner, and he backed off and I didn't. And I said something's wrong with my throttle, so I immediately dropped back and tried to take my toe and lift the throttle off the floor with it. That worked pretty good unless you was in traffic and you couldn't do it. So it was lucky to get out front, and I'd hold the car down, but then you'd have to take your toe to lift it up. But going into the 3rd turn, it's very hard to do that because you really need your foot to put the brake on, not to lift the throttle up. I didn't think we could win the race after that happened.
3 years since the last Winston Cup win. Could this be an omen for tomorrow's Southern 500?
Well, I don't know. You never know, but every time you win here at Darlington, you know, it feels good. It's always good. I don't know if it's got any reflection on tomorrow, but we sure had a car running today, you know, that Buick Scobandic racing, Ed Whitaker's racing Buick. I'm telling you, I'd like to have something like that tomorrow.
48-year-old Harry Gant captures the Gatorade 200 here at Darlington. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Jerry. And our winner circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. So we'll be back with more of our coverage this afternoon of the Gatorade 200 from Darlington, won by Harry Gant. Back at Darlington International Raceway, the Gatorade 200 Busch Grand National race completed with Harry Gant winning. The area down here at the exit of Pit Road involves an accident between the pace car and Tommy Houston's machine. We'll have more on that in just a moment. Right now, let's go to Dick Berggren, who's with Michael Waltrip, third-place finisher.
Well, Mike, what a great run this afternoon. I wish you could have seen your brother on top of the truck driving the car for you.
Well, I wish you could have heard him on the radio. He was more than a crew chief. He was a cheerleader, telling me where to go and what to do. I finally told him he was going to have to leave me alone if I was going to race, you know. His crew did a heck of a job. That's a good car. I have a great time racing with these sportsmen guys. I was a little bit excited when I got out of the car at Bristol. Today was a lot of fun, and I feel a lot better.
4 tires instead of 2 would have made a big difference on that first pit stop, wouldn't they, Mike?
Well, I think Harry would have still been hard to beat. We did what we did to run as good as we possibly could. I don't know what we would have changed to been in any better shape. If that last caution hadn't come out and I could have run a few more laps under green, I think my tires would have come in and I'd have had a good run at them.
Based on what you saw today, what kind of a race do you expect to run tomorrow?
Probably nothing like this one, you know. There wasn't any cautions. It was a good, clean race, and wasn't really a whole lot of tight, close racing from my perspective until the very end. I just kind of ran around there by myself, passed a couple of cars now and then, but tomorrow will be a different story. It'll be a tire war as usual, and it'll be a fight to the end. The Southern 500 is too prestigious for anybody to lay down and let somebody run off with it.
And that's the bottom line on the Southern 500 tomorrow from a guy who did a great job here this afternoon, Michael Waltrip.
All right, thank you and congratulations, Michael. Let's take a look at the point standings now. After this race, Tommy Ellis has just an 8-point lead on Mike Alexander. Tommy Houston remains in 3rd, Larry Pearson 4th, and Rob Moroso is in 5th position. So those are the standings after this race, and right now we'll go back to our ESPN studios. Tim Brando is watching college football this Saturday afternoon. All right, thanks, Tim. And we are back at Darlington International Raceway, where the Gatorade 200 was won here this afternoon by Harry Gant. However, we did have an accident at the end of the race involving the pace car, as it was T-boned in the driver's side of the pace car by Tommy Houston's machine. Let's go to Dick Berggren, who's on the scene.
Well, Bob, the good news is we just talked to Les Richter, and he says that pace car driver Jim Graham is okay. They've taken him out. They put a neck brace on him. They've taken him off to the hospital just to be sure that he's absolutely all right. But apparently initial indications are no major injuries. Here's the car behind me that was struck by Tommy Houston's car. Good thing we had 2 strong cars.
Yeah, it was damaged badly there on the side, and Houston's machine was very badly tore up in the front end. So the top 10 finishers here this afternoon. Of course, the winner, Harry Gant. 2nd was Jeff Bodine. 3rd place finisher was Michael Waltrip. Davey Allison was 4th, and Morgan Shepherd was in 5th position. Then 6th was Jimmy Spencer. Michael Alexander finished 7th, followed by Rusty Wallace, Brad Teague, and Tommy Houston. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, live here on ESPN, it'll be the Southern 500. And it should be an exciting race as Bill Elliott will start from pole. Today's Gatorade 200 has been brought to you by Pontiac Grand Prix, the 1988 Motor Trend Car of the Year. By Quaker State Motor Oil, the big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. And by Purolator Filters, the first name in filters. For Pure Oil now and Pure Oil later, it's Purolator. My thanks to Ned Jarrett in the booth, to Dick Berggren and Jerry Punch in the pit area. We'll all, along with Gary Nelson, see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock for the Southern 500. For right now, this is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone. Harry Gant won the Gatorade 200 Busch Grand National race here at Darlington International Raceway this afternoon, beating Jeff Bodine, Michael Waltrip, Davey Allison, and Morgan Shepherd. we are getting ready for now practice Winston Cup cars for tomorrow's Southern 500 Winston Cup race that we will have for you. Now, there's Harry Gant, who won today's race. He was the winner of the Southern 500 in 1984. Neil Bonnet won the Southern 500 in 1981. He's with Dick Berggren.
And I'll bet Neil Bonnet would like to win the Southern 500 in 1988. Neil, what kind of a race are we going to see here tomorrow?
It's going to be tough. Earlier in the week, you could see some cars in practice getting ready to qualify that were really dominant and had some high-speed race cars. Since we're doing all this practice now, got the race set up in these race cars, there's very little difference between the first 20, 25 cars. So looks like there's going to be a big pack of cars going at it tomorrow.
People talk about the mystique of the Southern 500 and how everybody really wants to win this race. Is that for real, or is that just hype? Is that just publicity?
I know this thing beat me in the ground for several years before I ever won here, and once I finally did win the 500, it was just a big relief, and I think the pressure's off of you, but it's more of a challenge, and the drivers internally respect this win in this race more so than any race on the circuit. It's just so tough.
Many of the drivers who will be competing here, I guess we might define them as among the walking wounded, of which you are one. Harry Gant is on crutches. Took a look, Dave Marcus today has a splint in his knee. Let's talk about Neil Bonnet's health. How are you? Are you capable of running this whole thing tomorrow?
I hope so. You know, there's a difference in running hurt and running sick. I've raced hurt all my life, broken bones and stuff, but I got sick and I had to have some internal surgery done, and I've got that behind me now, and there's nothing I'd rather do. We got off to a good start and won some races this year. I want to jump on them right here and have a good time.
I won 3 right at the beginning of this year, and nothing would please you more than to win 3 at the end. Bob Jenkins?
Neil Bonnet starts 24th in tomorrow's Southern 500, a race that Ned Jarrett competed in many times.
Well, and had the pleasure of winning this thing in 1965, and I echo Neil's feelings. Once you have won on this racetrack, it does give you one of the greatest feelings of accomplishment, I think, that anyone could experience in any type of major sports, because the track is so tough. We saw today some awfully good racing and some close quarters, but boy, when you get 40 Winston Cup cars out there tomorrow, and I agree with Neil, after having put the clock on a lot of cars here this morning in a practice session, there are about 20 to 25 drivers who are running about the same speed. I think we're going to see one whale of a race tomorrow.
Bill Elliott, Dale Earnhardt in row number 1, Alan Kulwicki and Jeff Bodine. Join us at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon Eastern Time. We will have live flag-to-flag coverage of the Southern 500 here on ESPN from Darlington, South Carolina. Well, coming up next here on ESPN, the third-round coverage of the Canadian Open from Oakville, Ontario. We join Ron Franklin and Jim Colby.